Hey, Mark, from New Jersey, Morris County. Interested in Sean and Dan's take on.
Steve, who are you supporting?
It's a tough one, but I'm leaning Trump. Um,
Okay. Did you vote for Trump
Interested
in
in the
16
efficacy of
sorry,
endorse.
Steve, did you vote for
Yes,
Trump in did you vote for Trump in 16 or 20?
16 yes, 20 no.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm interested in Sean and Dan's take on the efficacy in pursuit of the proverbial swing voter for endorsements, be they celebrity or otherwise, that bring up if it's a pro-Trump one, you'll say, "Listen, didn't like the way he acted on January 6th. Don't like the way he's got this opaque relationship with Putin. However, the border's paramount. Conversely, if it's Kamala." Yes, I don't think she's the brightest bulb, or I don't think she articulates it. And yes, she's not trying and she's not earning it. She's playing, rope a dope. However, Trump disqualified himself because of X. Is that an effective way to reach that proverbial swing voter, or do you just have to be all positive all the time?
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
Dan, go.
Dan, go ahead.
Any validator is good. It's just a question of whether you respect that person or you hear that person. Like, do they penetrate your world and you hear what he or she has to say? But in most aspects of life, if you think about it, if you're kind of listening to two people argue and you don't really care for either, you go to your friends, you go to others and say, like, what do you think? I trust you. And so in that regard, it can be impactful.
Yeah, let me just, the data shows that the most impactful and persuasive people are the people close to you, your friends, your family, your colleagues. And so that's why you see a lot of times since pretty much Obama 12, where they've really made a strong thing, share this message with their friends, follow up with them here and here. That's the most impactful endorsement that you can get, is when a neighbor, a friend, a family member, a coworker asks you to vote for somebody. I don't think that celebrities do that much. And also remember where we are right now. That phase of the campaign is almost passed us by, right? The persuasion. This is now, we are in full turnout mode. And the people who are left on the fringes are, as Governor McCrory mentioned, in North Carolina, but other places, they're not the people that are watching the news or finding out that some celebrity or athlete, whatever, endorsed somebody. That being said, phone calls at this point, hi, it's Governor so-and-so. It's so, you're going to see a lot more of the phone calls and the texts are going to come from the people who've endorsed. Can you turn out? Can you do this? And they're going to be action oriented. Please do.
But I get on the who, but in the manner that you do it, is it helpful to acknowledge flaws of the candidate that you want up front and then say, but because of this, I'm going that way? Is that more convincing, be it, familiar or
Again,
non-familiar?
I think it kind of depends, right? So if you're Harris and you use Liz Cheney, you want her to give you permission as a Republican who doesn't like Trump, as a woman who doesn't like Trump, who traditionally might be more conservative. That's what they're trying to do, is give you permission to say, here are my credentials. I do the following, but it's person specific, right? So Oprah doesn't need to deliver the same message. She can be joy. Liz Cheney can be, hey, I'm a conservative woman that tells you it's okay to vote for her. I think RFK can say, I'm a Democrat, or Tulsi Gabbard, I'm a Democrat. I believe that Trump is the best. I think that, so it depends on the constituency a little bit, what the message is. Certain people it plays better to, but so I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but it's not, there's no in a box answer where it's like, this is how you use a surrogate.
Yeah. Steve, thank you. I want to make one point and gently disagree with Sean. It's not, to me, just about turning out your base right now. There's still persuasion to be done, because in a close rate, the undecided voters matter. There's also, sadly, suppression that will take place on both sides. So if people want to say it's just about, you'll hear this constantly on cable news, it's just about turning out the base now. It's not. Those other two things will be happening as well. And I don't think Sean would disagree with that.
Yeah,
Right.
Can I make one point on that? Because I think it's important for people to understand the word suppression. And there's just a really good example from the Obama campaign. When they were running against Romney, they were talking about how he's not conservative enough. Like, you're sometimes playing three-dimensional chess, and it's not so much as one side trying to not turn out they play a game here where you're trying to tell your folks, like, We talked about this with what the Trump campaign's doing in Michigan, and pitting the Arab community against the Israeli community, the people, Jewish Americans. So it's not as simple as sometimes people think when we think of the word suppression, right? It's going after Romney and say, remember, he's not conservative enough. So you try to get people who would be normal, hardcore conservatives or religious voters to say, God, he's not the guy you think he is. It's the Trump campaign trying to say to folks in Michigan, remember, she's strong on Israel, because that's a bat signal to the Arab community there that, hey, she doesn't like you. So it happens
But
in many ways.
But to be clear, it's efforts to get people not to vote. That's just a reality.
Right. But I think there's a general perception of what suppression means.
Yeah.
And it's not lying to them saying, hey, the election's on Wednesday.
No, it's not. I understand, but it's still trying to get people not to vote. Terry, welcome in. Before you speak, and I'll remind you, tell folks who don't know where you are, who you're supporting. Lily Ledbetter, whose Fight for Equal Pay changed American law signed by Barack Obama, has passed away at 86. Terry.
Hi. Sorry to hear that. Connecticut, spent some time in Florida, voted for neither candidate in 16, voted for Biden as a protest vote in 2020 with immediate remorse. Have been leaning all this while, nowhere. And then the last couple of days, I've decided I'm now leaning Trump. Things are just...
Because why, Terry?
Well, so this is what I wanted to say. A couple weeks ago, and then last week again, this woman from North Carolina who used to live in Colorado was on, and she was talking about how great her financial situation is. She sold an expensive house in Colorado and bought a cheap house in North Carolina, and her 401k is off the charts. The problem with that is, to the panel, and this is the woman who also said blah, blah, blah to Sean a couple weeks ago when he tried to correct her. The trouble is, half of America, 75 million people, do not have access to a 401k or a stock portfolio. They don't have it. And these are probably the same people who are struggling, racking up credit card debt, who are defaulting on mortgages, defaulting on car loans. We've got to help this segment. If we don't help this segment who doesn't have access to the wealth that woman and so many others refer to, we're in trouble here. We're going to go down because we're not looking out for the most important segment of this country, the ones who have not amassed wealth yet. And maybe we'll never have an opportunity to do so if we keep on this track. So that's what
very thoughtfully said. I'll just point out, I called on 2 people at random. We do not pre-screen. People are what they're going to say. We got 2 people in a row who were undecided, now leaning Trump. So make of that what you will.
And you didn't know that.
Yeah.
And the other...
Yeah, go ahead.
Terry, you literally channel like my mother this weekend was like, I still don't understand, why people say things aren't good in the economy. And I had the same conversation that you just said. And I think, this goes back to what we talked about the other day about Barack Obama. Like, one of the reasons Democrats have lost Latinos and are having trouble with Black men and struggling with the working class is we often sit around in a kind of blue echo chamber, urban centers in big cities, where if the cost of bacon doubles, people just kind of say, boy, that's too bad, buy it and move on, because it's...
But they still buy it, right?
Right. And as opposed to areas where if the price of bacon goes up, that is at the expense of purchasing something else, right? It is an either or, not like both. And this is a problem that the Democratic Party is going to have to address, hopefully before November 4th. And if not, afterwards, if they want to be successful.
I've said before, the economy and safety are gut issues. No statistic can undo what you feel in your bones. If you walk down the street and you feel like you're not safe when you walk your dog or walk your kid to the bus stop, it doesn't matter how many statistics somebody throws in your face about how safe the neighborhood is. Similarly, with the economy, if you go to the grocery store and things are costing more and your budget is tighter, it doesn't matter that they're telling you this. And this is where I think the messaging differs. And again, this isn't a fact base. We're in politics. It's a perception base. Trump is saying right off the bat, I'm going to cut energy costs. I'm going to do this. I'm going to lower your bill here. I'm going to make this more affordable. No tax on tips. And instinctively, you're thinking more money in my pocket, more money in my pocket, more money in my pocket. with all due respect, I hear too many Democratic politicians say things are getting better. It's not as bad as you think it is. And I'm sitting there thinking, for most people, when they walk into a supermarket and they see, the cost of lemons or milk or eggs or bacon, and they just double or triple, and that's what they're talking about. I can't afford it. I had to make this choice. And someone's telling you, don't worry, it's not that bad. You're not inclined to want to support them. Fundamentally, that's the problem. Number two, to your point, I think one of the things that's interesting, Terry, is we saw this a couple of the comments that have come up on the morning meeting, where home ownership is one of the greatest gateways to wealth. You buy a home with interest rates and the cost of homes being what they are. That's where I think a lot of people feel like they're not going to ever be able to buy one. And then the solutions, I think, on the other side don't sound palatable. They don't sound realistic. And again, this gets back to, if the message that you're hearing doesn't sound credible, you're not going to buy it. I think these are the problems that the Harris campaign faces down the home stretch.
Terry,
Yeah,
I want to ask you. Go ahead, Terry, and I want to ask you one more.
Someone mentioned in the stream just now that I'm a staunch Trump supporter. It's obvious. It's not obvious. It's not obvious. This is the reason I'm here, because we need to learn and understand and appreciate other people's opinions in order for people like me who have struggled with who I vote for to help craft that decision. I'm not a staunch Trump supporter. I never will be. But I'm worried, not necessarily like most people are, about myself. Of course, a little bit I am, but I'm worried about how this affects other people that will eventually make the whole situation a whole lot worse. And we've got to holistically look out for one another and stop saying, you're for this and you stink and he doesn't do this and she's a terrible person, she's a liar. I came here to understand a little more about Harris, and I'm not getting enough. I'm not.
Terry, if the vice president called you and said, I saw you on the morning meeting and I thought your comments were really thoughtful and I'd love to win you over, what would you ask her about?
I would ask her to be truthful. We know a lot of what she's saying is not necessarily what she's demonstrated in her career. I would appreciate it if she just said, look, you're right. I was really against fracking. Or you're right. I said repeatedly in public that the border was secure. The border has not been secure. And I'm going to work to make sure I can do a better job of securing it. If she said something like that, I think there'd be far more of us who are undecided who were saying, yeah, let's check that box. Let's give her a chance. But I'm not hearing that.
Yeah. Terry, thank you for coming on. Really thoughtful. And we hope you come back. Thank you so much.